Olivia Bennett pushed open the heavy glass door of Sweet Moments Bakery, her arms aching from carrying 3 boxes of fresh croissants. The morning sun cast golden streaks across the small shop where she had worked for the past 2 years. Her alarm had gone off at 4 in the morning, just like every other day, and she had dragged herself to the kitchen to prepare the day's pastries. This was her life now, predictable and exhausting. But it was honest work that paid her bills. She set the boxes down on the counter and wiped her flour-dusted hands on her apron. The bakery owner, Mrs. Thompson, smiled warmly from behind the register. Olivia appreciated this job more than she could express. After culinary school left her drowning in student debt, finding any work in the food industry felt like a blessing. Even if it meant waking up before dawn and working until her feet throbbed, the desperate call her phone buzzed violently in her pocket. Just as she finished arranging the display case, the screen showed Rachel's name, and Olivia's heart immediately tightened. Rachel never called this early unless something was terribly wrong. "Rachel, what's happening?" Olivia answered, pressing the phone between her shoulder and ear while continuing to work. "Olivia, I need you." Rachel's voice came through shaky and strained. "I know this is asking the absolute world from you, but I'm completely desperate. Please tell me you're available tonight." Olivia glanced at the clock on the wall. She had her afternoon shift at the bakery until 3, then usually went home to rest before her evening gig helping at a local diner. "I might be able to move things around." "What's wrong? You sound like you're about to fall apart." Rachel let out a sound between a sob and a laugh. "Because I am falling apart. I've been planning this charity gala for months." Everything was perfect. The venue, the catering, the entertainment. Then this morning, my entire events team called in sick. Some kind of stomach virus going through the office. I have nobody to help me run this event tonight, and there will be over 100 guests, including some of the biggest names in the city. The impossible favor Olivia's stomach dropped. She knew exactly where this conversation was headed, and the thought terrified her. "Rachel, I've never worked a high society event before. I bake pastries and serve coffee. What you're describing is way beyond anything I've ever done, okay? But you're organized, professional, and I trust you completely." Rachel's desperation bled through every word. "Olivia, if this event fails, my entire career is over. I've invested everything into building my event planning company. This gala is supposed to be my breakthrough moment. The host is Sebastian Hayes, one of the youngest billionaires in the country. He's launching a new foundation tonight, and the press will be everywhere." Olivia closed her eyes and leaned against the counter. Rachel had been there for her through everything. When Olivia's father got sick and medical bills piled up, Rachel had helped her find extra work. When Olivia felt like giving up on her dreams entirely, Rachel reminded her why she loved creating food in the first place. How could she possibly say no? "What exactly would I need to do?" Olivia asked quietly, already knowing she would agree despite her fear. Relief flooded Rachel's voice. "Just help me coordinate everything. Make sure the catering runs smoothly, guide guests, handle any problems that come up. I'll be there the whole time directing you. Olivia, I'll pay you triple what you'd make at the diner tonight. And you'll get to wear a beautiful dress and see how the other half lives." The money would help tremendously. Olivia had been trying to save enough to open her own small bakery someday, but progress felt impossibly slow. 3 nights of regular pay for 1 evening of work could make a real difference. "Okay," Olivia heard herself saying. "Tell me where and when." Preparing for the unknown, after her bakery shift ended, Olivia rushed home to her modest apartment. She lived in a neighborhood far from the gleaming downtown towers, where rent was affordable, but the buildings showed their age. Her 1-bedroom apartment was tiny but clean, decorated with small touches that made it feel like home. Photos of her family, a small herb garden on the windowsill, shelves overflowing with cookbooks. Rachel had sent over a dress, telling Olivia it was essential she looked the part. When Olivia opened the garment bag, she gasped. The dress was a deep emerald green, elegant and sophisticated, made from fabric that felt like water between her fingers. She had never worn anything so beautiful in her entire life. Standing in front of her bathroom mirror, Olivia barely recognized herself. The dress fit perfectly, hugging her curves in all the right places. She swept her long brown hair into a soft updo, leaving a few strands loose to frame her face. With minimal makeup and simple jewelry borrowed from Rachel, she looked polished and professional. Not like someone who woke up at 4 in the morning to knead dough. Entering a different world, the venue was a historic mansion on the edge of the city. It's converted into an elegant event space. As Olivia's taxi pulled up the long, tree-lined driveway, her breath caught in her throat. The building glowed with warm light from every window. Luxury cars lined the circular drive. Impeccably dressed people streamed through the massive front doors. Olivia paid the driver with trembling hands, stepped out onto the cobblestone driveway. She felt like an imposter, convinced everyone would immediately see through her carefully constructed appearance and recognize her as someone who didn't belong. Rachel met her at a side entrance, looking frazzled but relieved. "Thank God you're here. Come on, I'll show you around quickly before guests start arriving in full force." The interior of the mansion took Olivia's breath away. Crystal chandeliers hung from ornate ceilings. Marble floors gleamed under soft lighting. Every detail spoke of wealth and refinement beyond anything Olivia had experienced. Waiters in crisp uniforms circulated with trays of champagne. A string quartet played softly in one corner. Tables draped in cream silk held elaborate floral arrangements that probably cost more than Olivia's monthly rent. The moment everything. Rachel walked Olivia through the evening's schedule, pointing out key guests and explaining the flow of events. Olivia tried to absorb everything, taking mental notes and nodding along. She could do this. It was just one evening. Then she could go back to her regular life. "And there's Sebastian Hayes himself," Rachel said, gesturing across the room. "He's been incredibly kind throughout this whole planning process. Very hands-on, which is unusual for someone at his level." Olivia turned to look where Rachel pointed, and time seemed to slow down. The man standing near the grand staircase was not what she expected at all. Sebastian Hayes was tall and lean, with dark hair that fell slightly across his forehead. He wore a perfectly tailored suit, but there was something approachable about his posture. He was laughing at something an older gentleman said, and his smile seemed genuine and warm. Then, as if sensing her gaze, Sebastian looked directly at Olivia. Their eyes met across the crowded room, and something electric passed between them. Olivia felt her heart stutter in her chest. His expression shifted from polite interest to something more intense, more curious. He excused himself from his conversation and began walking toward them. Olivia's mouth went dry. Rachel, oblivious to the moment that had just passed, continued talking about the evening's agenda. But Olivia couldn't focus on anything except the man approaching them with purpose in his stride. Sebastian stopped in front of them. And up close, Olivia could see his eyes were a striking shade of gray-blue. He looked at her with an intensity that made her feel like they were the only two people in the room. "I don't believe we've met," Sebastian said, his voice deep and smooth. "I'm Sebastian Hayes." "Olivia Bennett," she managed to say, shaking his extended hand. The touch of his skin against hers sent warmth flooding through her entire body. "Olivia is helping me run the event tonight," Rachel explained, professional as always. "She's an absolute lifesaver." Sebastian's gaze never left Olivia's face. "Then I'm very fortunate she agreed to help. Welcome, Olivia. Something tells me this evening is going to be far more interesting than I anticipated." The gala began in full swing, with guests flowing through the mansion's elegant rooms like a glittering river of silk and diamonds. Olivia moved through the crowd with purpose, coordinating with caterers and ensuring everything ran smoothly. Yet she remained acutely aware of Sebastian's presence wherever he went. Their eyes kept finding each other across crowded spaces. Brief moments of connection that left her breathless and confused. Rachel had been pulled into conversation with several important donors, leaving Olivia to handle a sudden crisis in the kitchen. The head chef was having a meltdown about the temperature of the main ballroom affecting his carefully prepared dishes. Olivia took a deep breath and stepped into the chaos, drawing on her culinary training to help problem solve. She suggested moving certain dishes to cooler areas and adjusting the serving schedule to maintain quality. "You really know your way." Around a kitchen, a familiar voice said behind. Her daughter Olivia turned to find Sebastian standing in the doorway, his jacket removed and sleeves rolled up to his elbows. He looked more relaxed than he had earlier, more human somehow. "I went to culinary school," she explained, then immediately worried that sounded pretentious. "I work at a bakery now. And a diner. I just understand how temperamental food can be." Sebastian stepped further into the kitchen, ignoring the surprised looks from the staff. "A baker. That explains the confidence I saw when you were talking to the chef. Most event coordinators would have panicked." Confessions over champagnes. The evening progressed. Olivia found herself working alongside Sebastian more than she had anticipated. He seemed determined to stay near her, helping with small tasks and engaging her in conversation whenever possible. When they had a quiet moment on the mansion's terrace, away from the crowd, Sebastian handed her a glass of champagne. "You should take a break," he said gently. "You've been working non-stop since you arrived." Olivia accepted the glass, her fingers brushing against his. The night air was cool and pleasant, carrying the scent of jasmine from the gardens below. The terrace overlooked the city, its lights twinkling like earthbound stars. "This view is incredible. You must see things like this all the time." Sebastian leaned against the stone railing beside her. "Honestly, I rarely stop long enough to notice. Most of my life is boardrooms and computer screens. Tonight is special because it represents something I actually care about." This foundation focuses on providing culinary education to underprivileged youth, giving kids opportunities they wouldn't otherwise have. Olivia's heart squeezed. "That's beautiful. Why culinary education specifically?" "My mother was a cook," Sebastian said quietly, staring out at the city. "Not a chef at a fancy restaurant. Just a cook at a small diner in the neighborhood where I grew up. She worked brutal hours for minimal pay, but she loved creating food that made people happy. She used to tell me that feeding someone was an act of love. She died when I was 16, and I promised myself that if I ever had the means, I would help kids who loved cooking the way she did." Walls coming down, the vulnerability in his voice struck something deep within Olivia. This was not the distant billionaire she had imagined. This was a man carrying grief and purpose, trying to honor someone he loved. "She would be incredibly proud of what you're doing," Olivia said softly. Sebastian turned to look at her, and in his eyes she saw genuine pain mixed with gratitude. "Thank you for saying that. Most people at these events don't ask about the why behind the foundation. They're more interested in networking or being seen with the right people." "I'm not most people," Olivia replied, then felt embarrassed by how that sounded. "I mean, I'm definitely not supposed to be here at all. I'm just filling in for Rachel's sick team. Tomorrow I'll be back at the bakery at 4 in the morning, and this will all feel like a strange dream." "What if it doesn't have to be a dream?" Sebastian asked, moving slightly closer. "What if tonight is the beginning of something real?" Olivia's pulse raced. "Sebastian, we just met. You don't know anything about me except that I can calm down an anxious chef." "Then tell me about yourself," he said simply. "I want to know everything. What do you dream about? What makes you laugh? What keeps you up at night, besides early bakery shifts?" Sharing dreams and fears, something about the way he asked, with such genuine interest, made Olivia's carefully maintained walls begin to crumble. She found herself talking about her father's illness, the medical debt that crushed her family, her abandoned dreams of opening her own bakery. She talked about feeling stuck, working endless hours, but never getting ahead, watching her passion for baking become just another exhausting job. Sebastian listened without interrupting, his full attention focused on her words. When she finally fell silent, worried she had shared too much, he reached out and gently took her hand. "Olivia, nothing you just described makes you stuck. It makes you incredibly strong. You're supporting your family, honoring your commitments, and still holding on to your dreams. That's not failure. That's courage." Tears pricked Olivia's eyes. Nobody had ever framed her life that way before. She always felt like she was failing, falling short of where she should be. "Most days I feel like I'm drowning, like I'll never have enough money or time or energy to actually build the life I want. What if you didn't have to do it alone?" Sebastian asked quietly. "What if someone wanted to help you, not because they pity you, but because they see your potential and believe in your dreams?" Olivia pulled her hand back, sudden fear flooding through her. "Sebastian, if you're offering me money, I can't accept it. I need to build my own success, not have it handed to me. Understanding each other, that's not what I meant, Sebastian said quickly. Though I respect your pride, I'm talking about partnership, connection, support, the kind of help that comes from genuinely caring about someone's success. He ran his hand through his hair, looking frustrated with himself. I'm not explaining this well. The truth is, Olivia, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since the moment I saw you tonight. There's something about you that makes me feel alive again. Real again. Olivia stared at him, her heart pounding so hard she could barely hear the music drifting from inside. You're one of the wealthiest men in the city. I live in a tiny apartment and work 3 jobs. Our worlds are completely different. Money doesn't determine worth, Sebastian said firmly. My bank account doesn't make me more valuable than you. If anything, your struggles have shaped you into someone genuine and compassionate. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Everyone wants something from me. They see dollar signs, not a person. But you looked at me like I was just another human being. Do you have any idea how precious that is? A dance under the stars music swelled from inside the mansion, a slow, romantic melody that drifted out to where they stood. Sebastian extended his hand with a slight smile. Dance with me? Olivia hesitated for only a moment before placing her hand in his. He pulled her close, one hand on her waist, the other holding hers gently. They began to sway together on the empty terrace, moving in perfect rhythm despite having just met. Olivia rested her head against his chest and could hear his heartbeat, strong and steady. This is crazy, she whispered. I don't do things like this. I don't believe in instant connections or love at first sight. I'm practical and careful and always thinking 3 steps ahead. Then don't think, Sebastian murmured against her hair. Just feel. What does your heart tell you right now in this moment? Olivia closed her eyes and let herself simply experience what was happening. The warmth of Sebastian's arms around her. The way their bodies fit together perfectly. The feeling of safety and excitement mixed together in a way she had never experienced before. My heart is telling me that something important is happening. Something that could change everything. Mine too, Sebastian said softly. I know this seems impossible. I know we have obstacles to overcome. But I also know that I haven't felt this way in years. Maybe ever. You've reminded me what it feels like to connect with someone authentically. To want something beyond the next business deal or a charitable donation. As the song ended, they pulled apart slightly, but remained close, foreheads almost touching. Sebastian, I need you to be honest with me, Olivia said, gathering her courage. Is this real for you? Or am I just an interesting distraction from your usual life? Because I can't afford to get my heart broken. My life is complicated enough without adding impossible romance to the mix. Sebastian cupped her face gently in his hands, his gray-blue eyes intense and sincere. This is the most real thing I've felt in a very long time. I'm not playing games, Olivia. I don't know exactly what this is between us or where it's going, but I know I want to find out. I want to know you, really know you. I want to be part of your life, if you'll let me. Before Olivia could respond, Rachel appeared at the terrace door, looking apologetic but urgent. Olivia, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation with the auction items. One of the major pieces didn't arrive, and the donors are asking questions. Olivia immediately shifted into professional mode, stepping back from Sebastian. I'll handle it. Where's the auction coordinator? You're amazing, Sebastian said as she started to walk away. Both at your job and at making me feel things I thought I'd forgotten how to feel. Olivia paused and looked back at him, allowing herself a genuine smile. Tonight isn't over yet. Let's see if you still think I'm amazing when this event is finished and reality sets back in. Working together for the next hour, Olivia and Sebastian worked side by side to handle the auction crisis. They discovered that working together came naturally to both of them. Sebastian's business acumen, combined with Olivia's problem-solving skills, created effective solutions. They managed to substitute the missing auction item with a private dinner experience that Sebastian offered to personally host, which generated even more bidding excitement than the original piece would have. Watching him interact with donors and guests, Olivia saw different layers of Sebastian Hayes. He was charming but genuine, wealthy but humble, powerful but kind. He treated the waitstaff with the same respect he showed major donors. He remembered names and asked thoughtful questions. This was a man who understood that money was a tool, not an identity. As midnight approached and guests began to leave, the gala was declared a massive success. Rachel hugged Olivia tightly, tears of relief streaming down her face. "You saved me tonight. I can never thank you enough." "You'd do the same for me," Olivia replied, meaning it completely. Sebastian appeared beside them, having said goodbye to the last remaining guests. "Rachel, your event was flawless. Olivia, could I speak with you privately before you leave?" The mansion had grown quiet, with only staff members cleaning up the remnants of the successful gala. Sebastian led Olivia to a small library tucked away from the main rooms. A cozy space filled with leather-bound books and comfortable chairs. A fireplace crackled softly in the corner, casting dancing shadows across the walls. "I wanted to talk to you away from everything," Sebastian said, closing the door gently behind them. "Tonight has been incredible, but I'm worried that when you leave here, you'll convince yourself this was all just fantasy, that nothing real could come from one magical evening." Olivia settled into one of the chairs, suddenly exhausted from the emotional roller coaster of the night. "Can you blame me for thinking that? In a few hours, you'll go back to running your companies and attending important meetings. I'll go back to my bakery and my tiny apartment. Our paths would never have crossed if not for Rachel's emergency." Sebastian knelt down in front of her chair, taking both her hands in his. The gesture was so earnest, so vulnerable, that Olivia felt her breath catch. "But our paths did cross, and I don't believe in wasting opportunities that the universe hands us. Olivia, I want to be part of your life, not as some wealthy benefactor swooping in to save you, but as someone who genuinely cares about you and wants to support your dreams." Facing reality together, tears welled up in Olivia's eyes. "Sebastian, you're talking about completely different worlds colliding. What happens when your friends and colleagues meet me? When they find out I'm just a baker who can barely make rent? What happens when the novelty wears off and you realize I can't keep up with your lifestyle?" "Stop," Sebastian said firmly, but gently. "You keep putting yourself down, and I won't allow it. You're not just anything. You're talented, intelligent, compassionate, and strong. Those qualities don't change based on your bank balance." Paused, seeming to gather his thoughts. "My mother used to tell me that the measure of a person isn't what they have, but what they give. You've given your time and energy to support your family. You've sacrificed your own dreams to honor your commitments. That makes you richer in the ways that actually matter." Olivia wiped at her tears, overwhelmed by the sincerity in his voice. "You really mean that?" Every word Sebastian confirmed. "And I'll spend however long it takes proving it to you. I want to know what kind of coffee you drink in the morning. I want to hear about your day, the good parts and the frustrating parts. I want to taste whatever you're experimenting with in your kitchen. I want to be there when you finally open your own bakery, because I know you will. Not because of my help, but because you're determined and talented enough to make it happen." A leap of faith. Olivia's heart felt like it might burst from her chest. Everything about this was terrifying and thrilling in equal measure. She had spent so long being cautious, protecting herself from disappointment, that the idea of opening her heart to this possibility felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. But looking into Sebastian's eyes, seeing the hope and vulnerability there, she realized that some risks were worth taking. I'm scared," she admitted honestly. "I'm scared of getting hurt. I'm scared of losing myself in your world. I'm scared that this feeling between us won't survive in the harsh light of day." Sebastian moved to sit beside her, wrapping his arm around her shoulders. "I'm scared too. I'm scared of messing this up. I'm scared that my lifestyle will overwhelm you. I'm scared that you'll decide I'm not worth the complications." He turned to face her fully. "But I'm more scared of letting you walk away and spending the rest of my life wondering what could have been. So I'm asking you to take a chance with me. Let's figure this out together, one day at a time." Olivia leaned into his warmth, feeling safer than she had in years. What would that even look like? How do we make this work when our lives are so different? "We start small," Sebastian suggested. "Tomorrow, let me take you to breakfast. Somewhere in your neighborhood, wherever you feel comfortable. Let me meet the real you in your real life. Then maybe you can show me your bakery, introduce me to the people who matter to you. We'll take it slow and see where it leads." The morning after dawn was breaking when Sebastian finally drove Olivia home in his sleek car. She directed him through her modest neighborhood, suddenly self-conscious about the peeling paint on buildings and the trash scattered on some corners. But Sebastian didn't seem to notice or care. He was too busy asking her questions about the area, genuinely interested in her world. When they pulled up in front of her apartment building, Sebastian turned off the engine and looked at her with such tenderness that Olivia felt her defenses completely crumble. "Thank you for tonight," he said softly, "for being yourself, for giving me a chance, for reminding me what truly matters." "Thank you for seeing me," Olivia replied, her voice thick with emotion. "Really seeing me, not just what I lack or what I could be. Nobody has ever made me feel as valued as you did tonight." Sebastian leaned across the console and kissed her forehead gently. "Get some rest. I'll pick you up at 10 for breakfast. Wear whatever makes you comfortable." "I want to know Olivia the baker, not the woman in the elegant dress." Olivia nodded, then impulsively kissed his cheek before climbing out of the car. She watched him drive away, hugging herself against the cool morning air, wondering if she was dreaming. But the warmth in her heart felt too real to be anything but authentic. Building something real over the following weeks, Sebastian and Olivia carefully built a relationship that honored both their worlds. He showed up at the bakery at dawn, learning to knead dough alongside her, and charming Mrs. Thompson with his genuine interest in the craft. He ate lunch at the diner where Olivia worked her evening shifts, sitting at the counter and making her laugh between orders. In turn, Olivia gradually entered Sebastian's world. She attended a business dinner where she was terrified of using the wrong fork, only to discover that Sebastian's colleagues were impressed by her authenticity and her insights about building community through food. She visited his foundation's first culinary classroom and was moved to tears seeing young students discovering their passion for cooking. They had difficult conversations about their different backgrounds. Sebastian shared his guilt about his wealth and his constant struggle to use it meaningfully. Olivia admitted her insecurities about feeling less worthy because she had less money. They argued sometimes, usually about Sebastian wanting to help more than Olivia was comfortable accepting. But they always talked through their disagreements, learning to understand each other's perspectives, dreams taking shape 3 months after the gala. Sebastian took Olivia to see a small commercial space in a neighborhood halfway between their two worlds. "Before you say anything," he said as they stood outside the empty storefront, "this isn't me trying to buy your dream. I'm not offering to pay for anything. But I wanted you to see what's possible, what you could create here." Olivia pressed her hands against the glass window, peering inside at the empty space. In her mind, she could see exactly how it would look. A cozy bakery with mismatched chairs and local art on the walls. Display cases filled with her creations. A menu board featuring both classic favorites and experimental items. A place where everyone felt welcome, regardless of their background or bank account. "It's perfect," she whispered. "But the rent alone would be more than I make in a month." "Then we figure out a business plan," Sebastian said, coming to stand behind her and wrapping his arms around her waist. "We look at loans, investors, crowdfunding, whatever it takes. I'll help you with the business side, connecting you with people who can offer advice and support. But this will be your bakery, built on your talent and your vision. I'm just here to cheer you on and maybe taste test everything you make." The foundation of love that evening. They cooked dinner together in Sebastian's penthouse kitchen, a routine they had developed over the past months. Olivia was teaching him to make her grandmother's recipe for chicken soup, a dish that required patience and love in equal measure. As they worked side by side, chopping vegetables and adjusting seasonings, Olivia realized how completely her life had transformed. "I never thought I could have this," she said quietly, stirring the pot. "Someone who understands both my struggles and my dreams. Someone who makes me feel strong instead of inadequate." Sebastian set down his knife and turned her to face him. "You've given me just as much. Before I met you, I was going through the motions of life, working constantly, accumulating more success, but feeling empty inside. You've taught me to slow down and appreciate the small moments. You've shown me that real wealth isn't measured in dollars, "We're quite a pair," Olivia said with a soft laugh. "The billionaire and the baker." "No," Sebastian corrected, pulling her close. "We're just two people who found each other against all odds and decided to build something beautiful together. That's not about money or status. That's about love, promise for the future." The word hung in the air between them, spoken aloud for the first time. Love. It felt right and true and absolutely terrifying. Olivia looked up at Sebastian, seeing her own emotions reflected in his eyes. "I love you too," she said, the words tumbling out before she could second-guess herself. "I love you so much it scares me sometimes." Sebastian kissed her then, deep and tender and full of promise. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless and smiling. "I know we still have challenges ahead," he said. "People who won't understand our relationship, obstacles we can't predict. But I also know that facing those things with you by my side makes everything feel possible. We'll figure it out together," Olivia agreed, echoing the words he had spoken on that first night. One day at a time. New beginnings. 6 months later, Olivia stood in front of her bakery on opening day, tears streaming down her face. The space had been transformed into everything she had imagined, and more. Sweet Beginnings, she had named it, honoring both her fresh start and the night that changed everything. The line of customers stretched down the block, drawn by word of mouth and genuine excitement. Sebastian stood beside her, holding her hand tightly. He had been there for every step of the journey, offering advice when asked, but never taking over. This was her dream realized through her own hard work, determination, and talent. He was simply honored to witness it. Rachel was there too. Having helped spread the word about the bakery through her event planning connections, Mrs. Thompson from the old bakery came with a beautiful bouquet of flowers. Even some of Sebastian's business colleagues showed up, curious to try the food they had heard so much about. As Olivia cut the ribbon and welcomed her first customer, she caught Sebastian's eye. He mouthed, "I'm proud of you," and she felt her heart overflow with gratitude and love. Her life looked nothing like she had imagined a year ago, but it was better than any fantasy she could have created. Full circle, that evening, after the successful opening day, Sebastian and Olivia returned to the mansion where they had first met. The foundation was hosting another gala, but this time Olivia walked in as Sebastian's partner, not as hired help. She wore a different dress, one she had chosen herself, and she held her head high with confidence earned through months of growth and self-discovery. "Remember the first time we stood on this terrace?" Sebastian asked, leading her outside to their special spot. "How could I forget? I was terrified and overwhelmed and convinced I didn't belong here, and now—" Olivia looked out at the glittering city, then back at the man who had seen her worth when she struggled to see it herself. "Now, I know that belonging isn't about where you come from or how much money you have. It's about being with someone who loves you for exactly who you are." Sebastian pulled out a small velvet box, and Olivia's breath caught. "I was going to wait for a more elaborate moment," he said, opening it to reveal a simple but beautiful ring. "But this feels perfect, right here where it all began. Olivia Bennett, you've changed my entire life. You've taught me what really matters and given me a love I never thought I'd find. Will you marry me?" Through happy tears, Olivia nodded. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." As Sebastian slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her under the stars, Olivia reflected on the incredible journey that had brought her to this moment. She had agreed to help a friend and ended up finding her soulmate. She had walked into a world where she felt she didn't belong and discovered that love transcends all boundaries. She had taken the biggest risk of her life and found that sometimes the most terrifying leaps lead to the most beautiful landings. Their story was just beginning, but it was already everything Olivia had ever dreamed of and more. Two people from different worlds, united by genuine connection, mutual respect, and a love that proved money could never buy the things that truly matter. Together, they would build a life filled with purpose, passion, and endless possibilities. The night that had started with a desperate favor had transformed into a lifetime of love, and Olivia knew that this was only the beginning of their never-ending story.